everyone, I'm Yoo Ji-hye and welcome to In the Newsroom, where in the next half hour or so we'll be bringing you the behind-the-scenes look on how we deliver the news to you. Before we go and meet our very own reporters, as always, let's go over to our Hwang Sung-hee for a quick rundown of some of the stories that made headlines this week. Sung-hee, hello.
Hi Ji-hye. In this week's headlines, the 2012 London Olympics came to a successful close this week. And Team Korea exceeded the nation's expectations by finishing 5th in the number of gold medals. North Korean leader's influential uncle Jang Sung-taek visited China to discuss economic cooperation with Pyongyang's most crucial ally. The visit by the highest North Korean official comes amid growing speculation that the regime wants to bring economic reform. After President Lee Myung-bak's surprise visit to the nation's easternmost Dokdo islet, Japan says it wants to take the issue of ownership of the islets to the International Court of Justice. But Korea says it will politely refuse, saying there's no need for court since Dokdo is Korean territory. After wondering where real rain has been this summer, Korea got a heavy dose of precipitation this week. Over 150 millimeters fell in Seoul alone, leading to road closures and flooding, while close to 400 millimeters fell in other parts of the nation. Koreans across the world celebrated the nation's 67th anniversary of freedom from Japanese colonial rule on Liberation Day, but activists, from students to the president, called on Japan to resolve some unfinished business. The 2012 Yeosu Expo ended its 93-day run this week. The event is being seen as a success as it managed to meet its goal of drawing 8 million visitors. Well, Ji-hye, that's all from me for now. I'll be back with more news next week. Back to you, Ji-hye.
Hello guys.
Hi.
Hi. You know, this week was about ringing down the curtains on two major events. Here in the country was, of course, the Yeosu Expo 2012, and in the global scale, it was London Olympics. Did you guys get to see the closing ceremony?
I just saw parts of it when Robbie Williams and his band Take That was out there. So, I mean, it was a phenomenal closing ceremony, and it was a mixture of happy and sadness. You know, it was a great show, but at the same time, I could kind of feel that the audience was a little bit, you know, sad to see this enormous event coming to a close in their city.
Any memorable games that, you know, would like to share with us?
Well, our soccer team getting the bronze medal was really unforgettable, and other games.
Like, to me, the Korean gymnast Sonyeonjae just making into the finals was a big leap in Korean gymnastics.
And talking about gymnastic, Yang Hak-sun,
Yeah,
who won
he
the
was
gold
great.
medal.
Yeah, certainly. You know, the games were not without controversy, and like you said, yeah, football was certainly one of them. The Olympic Games is over, but people are still buzzing about this very issue involving one of our football players, Kim Jong-woo.
Park Jong-woo? Yeah, I actually wrote a story on him over the weekend when this whole controversy of him holding up a sign that says Dokdo is our territory after the game with Japan has ended. And from the Korean Football Association side, they say this was unintentional, how the sign just came from the audience and he just happened to be there and he held up the sign and he ran around the field. But it was against the IOC and the FIFA regulations to hold up any signage that has either religious or political or any sort of a racial statement on it. So it was unfortunate. But yeah. It was unintentional, but rules are rules, so we're still kind of waiting to hear the final word from the IOC, whether they're going to withdraw his bronze medal or just give him a warning or whatever. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Dokdo, obviously President Lee Myung-bak made a surprise, unprecedented visit to the easternmost islets. Jin-joo, tell us more.
Well, he visited the Dokdo Islets last Friday when I was on vacation, unfortunately, to show the Japanese government that this is our territory and to show them that we're not backing down on this territorial dispute, and he showed that in action.
The Korean government plans to maintain a calm and resolute stance in dealing with Japan's decision to consider taking the Dokdo issue to the International Court of Justice. High-ranking officials here in Seoul said Sunday that the Korean government remains firm in its belief that there are no problems with President Lee Myung-bak's unprecedented visit to Dokdo, as Korea has an indisputable sovereign right to the islets, which are clearly Korean territory. During his visit to the islets last week, President Lee strongly criticized Tokyo for its view of its 1910 to 1945 colonial rule of Korea. According to a senior official at the presidential office, President Lee said that many Koreans still harbor ill feelings towards Japan as Tokyo continues to refuse to offer a sincere apology for its actions during the colonial period.
So, I mean, I don't think there are any Koreans in the nation that are against what President Lee Myung-bak did, but like you said, I mean, there is obviously the question of why now.
Because I don't know if I'm right, but I read somewhere that this trip has been planned for 3 years or something. I don't know if I'm right. Is that correct?
Well, according to the presidential office, President Lee has been preparing for this trip since 3 years ago. But what they say is because of the weather conditions and other security reasons, they have been keeping, postponing it for the time. But he has definitely been preparing for this trip, and it wasn't spontaneous and it wasn't unplanned ahead. So that's the government's stance on this.
Of course, you're on vacation, but did the reporters at the Blue House get any pre-warnings before he made the trip? Or?
Well, I got a phone call from the presidential office when I was in vacation that they had an important press briefing that was going on, and and they needed to deliver the details of the press briefing to our company. But since I wasn't there, they called me, and so our foreign ministry correspondent went there to get the details of the briefing. And I assume that some of the details that came out from the briefing was about his plan, and of course because of the security reasons they couldn't release it before his visit until he arrived back on mainland. So
how is the Japanese reacting to this?
Well, they're quite not happy about the issue, and after President Lee made some strong comments over this week, saying that, for example, the Emperor of Japan should apologize if he ever wants to come to Korea, or the Japanese government should apologize for especially the sexual slavery issue. And Japan said that they will take the issue to the ICJ as soon as this week, and they're considering to scrap the currency swap deal they signed with Korea last year, which is worth about $70 billion US. So it is definitely affecting other diplomatic issues and economic issues. So I'm not sure how much this tension will escalate further, but I hope it doesn't heighten that much.
Yeah, let's certainly hope so. Thank you, Jin-joo. And Sung-hee, I'm sure that we'll be seeing more of you here in the office because Yeosu Expo is out of the way.
Yes, it is.
What was most memorable about the expo?
I don't know, I've covered so many events. The opening ceremony, I met all the foreign media coming to Yeosu before the event began. And I don't know, the soccer player Park Ji-sung, I covered his visit. And what else did I cover?
All
aspects, yes. The closing ceremony
the opening ceremony better or the closing ceremony better, in your opinion?
I think by scale, if you like K-pop, there were all the K-pop singers for the opening ceremony, like Big Bang, 21.
IU.
Yeah, IU. So in that sense, I think the opening ceremony was better, but the closing ceremony was very, I don't know, touching.
Emotional. I mean, here you also got to talk to the Secretary General of the BIE, and what did he say about the event? Did he see it as a success?
The BIE Secretary General says the event was successful because Yeosu managed to meet its goal of drawing 8 million visitors. And Yeosu is a very small city of 300,000 people, and he says this city managed to draw around 7 million people in itself is a success, but it drew over 8 million, so that also. And Yeosu was able to capture the theme of, I don't know, the living ocean and the coast. That is the theme of the Yeosu Expo. And it was very well
presented. So yeah, he says it was a success.
Right, it's good to know. 8 million is not a small number. So, for people like myself who was unfortunate not to visit the place, if you actually go there now, what are the things that could be catering for us?
I hear that the aquarium, the Sky Tower, the Big O, you guys saw the
Big O,
right?
is gonna be
yeah,
there?
that's going to be there. And also I heard plans of the Yeosu Expo site being turned into an ocean resort complex. So the Sky Tower, the aquarium, these are going to be attractions that's going to draw more visitors to Yeosu. So hopefully maybe in a couple of years we can all make a trip down to Yeosu and enjoy our summer together.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yay.
That'd be great. That's a plan. While all this is going on, I hear that on the other side of the peninsula, keeping rather quiet. But as soon as it was over, we know that Jang Sung-taek, the uncle of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, made a trip to China, and that holds a great significance. So, Hanur, take it away.
Okay, so North Korea's vice chairman of the Defense Commission, Jang Sung-taek, who is also the uncle of Kim Jong-un, he made a trip to Beijing to discuss economic cooperation with China. North Korea and China have vowed to cooperate in developing infrastructure and jointly investing in the North's Hwanggeum Island and the Rason Economic Trade Zone, both bordering China. The agreement came after a meeting between Jang Sung-taek, North Korea's vice chairman of the National Defense Commission, and his Chinese counterparts in Beijing on Tuesday. Jang is the uncle of Kim Jong-un and is widely known to be one of the most influential officials in the North's leadership structure. Jang arrived in Beijing with his entourage on Monday for a 6-day visit, but many experts expect other issues to be discussed since Jang's team includes key figures in charge of political, economic, and foreign policy. This is not his first trip to Beijing. This is actually the third meeting that he's holding. But usually in the past, when Kim Jong-il was alive, these trips were usually done undercover, very secretive. He only had 1 or 2 people accompanying him. But this time, he took an entourage of 50 people, and it was, publicized over North Korean and Chinese media. So these China-North Korea bilateral talks has been going on, but what's noticeable this time is the amount of publicity that Jang Sung-taek has gained. And this also shows that Kim Jong-un's style of leadership, or the path that he's trying to take, he's been very friendly with the media. So his Jang Sung-taek's visit usually wouldn't have been covered back in Kim Jong-il's days because he's a non-Kim, so anything that's not related to the direct Kim lineage will not be covered in the media. So yeah, this is why, there's been
significant.
It is significant, but the talks has been going on for some time.
Could this indicate that North Korea could be opening up and really listen to what the big brother China has to say?
Most experts believe that these are signs, significant steps that North Korea is serious about reforming its economy. Kim Jong-un likes to put it, rather than economic reforms, Kim Jong-un likes to say it's economic innovation, 혁신. He likes to use that word. So it is part of North Korea's interest to really, draw in the financial resources from China, because Kim Jong-un really has to prove to his people that he can feed the people and resolve the issue of starvation in the country.
Right. I mean, it's not only China, but also I think one of the appointments in North Korea went to Vietnam recently, and they're planning on holding another historical talks, first in 4 years, with Japan as well. So yes, there is this very significant movement of opening up and using all the channels they can to actually compromise and reach some sort of a goal. But I guess it's still a guessing game, so I guess we'll have to wait and see.
So all this comes a week before Korea and China's 20th anniversary of diplomatic ties, and next week I think I may be making a trip to China to cover strengthening economic ties between Korea and China. So maybe I'll get to compare with North Korea.
Maybe you should ask them.
Maybe I should.
About, China doing business with North Korea versus doing business with South Korea?
Right, that would be an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you very much for your contribution. It's going to be another very busy week for every one of us. So let's get a good rest over the weekend, and I'll see you guys back here sometime next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Every single Olympic Games, Korea is breaking more than one medal. And one thing Kim had his eyes on was second race in London.
Today I'm heading to the airport because the Korean team is arriving from London. And this is the first time they all gather to actually finish and wrap up their games at the airport. And we're also going to the press conference. So it's going to be a long day awaiting us. It's my on-field reporting in about a month. Last time I went was at Tanning Training Center when the athletes were training before they left for London. And for the past 3 weeks, I've been covering the Olympics in the studio for the early edition and the primetime news in the evening. So I've been working around the clock, covering all the games and events and games to watch. And for that, I couldn't really go out and report as I wished to because it was already a lot of work. There are around like 100 athletes and staffs and coaches landing at 2 to 3 p.m. But we're leaving at noon so we can get a good spot to shoot the footages. And we're going to have to wait like 2 or 3 hours before the press conference scheduled for 5 p.m. that is. We just arrived at the airport and it's only 1 p.m. but I can already see a lot of people and cameras on set here. And we have to set 2 cameras, one here at the entrance gate and the other one at the press conference venue. So we have to keep on running to get the spot there. We had a short discussion with the camera crew. We're going to stand up, we're going to shoot the interviews because there are a lot of variables. There are going to be like a lot of people, so we have to like arrange everything in advance in case of some surprising situations and events. So we have agreed to like shoot from like various angles, from up from the stairs and one from the directing angle in front of the desks, and hope everything worked out as planned. Well, we can see now taekwondo fighter Hwang Sung-hee carry the flag as she enters with the other athletes here and gate T at the Incheon Airport, along with about 70 staffs and coaches, and all the staffs were the delegation of the Olympic team of Korea for London 2012. Airports is always a chaos, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. This is why we always have to be on the move and on the run. What we're seeing here is not only Korea's best, but the world best who earned gold medals in the 30th Olympic Games. And I'm just so excited to see them all in just one place right now, right after the Olympic Games. And they're just right back from London, here back at home with medals around their necks.
네, 안녕하세요. 김배경입니다. 제가 입원을 하고 소감은요?
Now it's time to go back to News Center Arirang to finish our footages into a packet for the 22 p.m. news. And before that, I have a live connection for the 6 p.m. news as well. So we have to run and get there as soon as we can now that we're done here. We only have like an hour or two to actually finish the report and the package, and we are now processing the footages here, and I'm writing my article there so we can come up with collaborating the two and wrap it up for the 22 p.m. newscast. I'm very honored and happy to have actually covered the games throughout the 2 weeks as a sports correspondent and as a sportscaster for the segment. And not only as a reporter, but I think I also grew as a broadcaster to cover the event for at least 10 minutes a day. I also got used to the studio and the lives on air twice a day. So I think that was a great chance for me as well as a reporter and as a potential anchor in the future. So I think I got my set of goals too, watching these athletes. So it was an amazing, amazing 2 weeks with the Olympics.
Arirang Song Ji-sun welcomed them at the airport and tells us what they had to say.
Team Korea has officially wrapped up its London journey. After taking a long rest at their homes, they'll now gear up for the Rio 2016 Games. 송지선, Arirang News, Incheon.
Right, so Hyung-kyung, this is where it all happens.
Yeah,
KT.
welcome to the studio.
Thank
I
you
was in
very
your
much.
studio for in-depth
Exactly.
on Tuesday. But
we had a great
welcome.
pleasure of talking to you about right after you came back from Japan. It was very timely in a sense that it was on the eve of the Liberation Day, and also especially when we're seeing signs of bilateral relations between Korea and Japan faltering. Can you tell us about your trip? How was it?
Well, I went to the Utoro village. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive away from Japan's Osaka city. And it was kind of a base for ethnic Koreans who were conscripted for manual labor back in the early 1940s when Korea was under Japan's colonial rule. But when the war was over, they couldn't come back to Korea and they had to settle there. But when a Japanese company bought the land, the area, the area around the village, including the village as well, they were forced to be evicted. But they had nowhere to go. So they started up this awareness campaign and they protested. And with the help of the South Korean government and the people, they were able to buy the land, and now they are the rightful owners of the rightful residents of the village now.
I see. So you must have looked around the village. There must have been a tour. What's the impression you got from that?
Like, outside of the village is quite modern, clean. They have clean buildings and modern buildings, but once you make an entrance into the village, then because you have dirt roads and you see wells here and there. It kind of made me feel like I was traveling back back to the 1960s or 70s.
I see. Did you get to talk to people there? I'm
Yeah,
sure you
sure,
did.
of course. There are about 60 households and about 180 people living in the village now, but only 2 or 3 first-generation ethnic Korean residents there remaining now. And I actually had a chance to talk to one of them. Her name is Kang Kyung-nam. She's 86-year-old, but it was a very memorable experience. The hospitality she had was amazing. I mean, because, covering a story is quite exhausting sometimes because you're walking, you're running, and, sometimes you have to carry the tripods, so we were kind of dehydrated and we were going to buy some drinks, but she insisted that she bought the drinks and we were like, no, we'll pay for, we have the money to pay for our water. But she insisted, she said, you guys flew all the way here to cover the story and let the world know about our situation and the story and the village. Let me pay. This is the least I can do, and that was, that was very touching.
I see. But like you said, the reconstruction has started this April. Maybe next time that you go and visit the village, it could be in a better state of environment, and you can say hello to Miss Kang again, and it's a touching story. Hyung-kyung, thank you very much for inviting me to your home.
You're always welcome. We've talked about it. You have to come on our show. One day.
Yeah, one day.
In the near
definitely.
future.
Yeah, thank you very much for talking to us about your very special story.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Right.
And it's just starting now, so they've done
in the newsroom, where in a half hour or so we'll be bringing you
wants to take the issue of ownership of the islets to the east.
Major events, bringing down the curtains on 2 major events. 다시 딱 한 번만 다시.